What's up, everybody? It's Brett Okamoto from ESPN, and we are back with UFC Best Bets. That is the official name of the show. I don't think anybody really named it. I think it just became that on the ESPN Gambling YouTube channel. But we are excited to be back, and especially for a big pay-per-view week. We got the two pros. We got Nick Kalikas from Circus Sports. He's our pro on the betting side, and then we got, of course, James Krause, UFC veteran coach. Recreational gambler on the side here, talking you through the best bets and also just looking at some of these fights through a gambling lens. So let's get right to it, guys. UFC 258. I've been looking forward to talk about this particular matchup a lot with both of you. It is a welterweight championship fight between Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns. Right now at William Hill, Usman is the favorite. No surprise there. He is a minus 280 favorite. Burns on the comeback is plus 230. And there has been some movement on Kamaru's side. This opened at minus 240 for Usman. Now it's up to 280. Burns was plus 180. Now he's at plus 230. So, James, let's start with you. Big main event, 170 pounds.
Yeah.
Guys who are very familiar with one another, trained together from 2012 up until last year when Kamaru Usman left South Florida for Denver. Break this fight down for us from a gambling perspective.
Well, I got to be honest. I mean, you can't bet against, somebody that hasn't lost in the UFC with Usman. He's I think on nine fights? Is that it's up there. He hasn't lost in the UFC. So it's really difficult to bet against somebody like him. But I'm surprised to see the money coming in on Usman, to be completely honest with you. In terms of a value perspective, we're not talking about who I think is going to win or lose. We're talking about a value perspective. I think that there is value on Burns. I personally am staying away from the fight just because it's such a difficult matchup for me to pick. I think Burns has a way better shot than what people are giving him credit for. I personally love the over 4.5 rounds in this. I mean, Usman is a grinder. He typically grinds people out, and I don't think he is covered an under since Sergio Moraes in 2000, whatever that was, a long time ago. So he's typically the only fight he's finished since then was Colby, and he still didn't cover the over then. So, didn't cover the under then. It still hit over. So I like the over in this, and especially with them favoring him to win. I got to think that if they're favoring him to win, they're favoring him to win by decision, which he typically does. All that being said, Burns is extremely undervalued, in my opinion. I think he's dangerous. He's got the grind that Usman has as well. It's a great fight for me. I love this fight. Very, very evenly matched guys, in my opinion.
Nick, let me ask you this, because when James is talking about that Gilbert's undervalued. I mean, just me personally, one of the things I look at is kind of looking at what the line has been for Kamaru going against other opponents, right, and then compare it to what it is now for Gilbert. So. From your side of the table, what are you looking at in terms of where is the value here between Usman and Burns?
You know what? I'm honestly really bummed out about this fight, because let's not forget, this was supposed to take place back at UFC 251, correct? Mm-hmm. And at that time, we did the UFC gambling show, and we gave out Usman, Yanni and I both did at minus 190, right? So the line came back out after the fight was canceled, postponed or whatnot, and redated. And all the sharps kind of hopped on Usman back then, and it gave the sports books a tip of where the line's going to go. So with that said, that's why when it came back out, they already knew, hey, look, the sharps are going to bet us at under 200. Let's put this out a little bit higher from 230, 240. Now we're seeing 270, 280 out there. Frustrating, because I would much rather bet minus 190 than almost laying 300 in this spot. So that's what kills me right now, because I would be all over Usman at under 2-1. There's no question about it, but I hesitate as we're reaching close to 300. I think the value's already kind of sucked out. And I think it's kind of more appropriate where the line is right now. And it's just a difficult one to bet. So according to what James said, I know that Usman typically is a grinder decision type of guy here for sure. So I can understand his angle there. I think this will be a competitive back and forth fight, but I think Usman will eventually pull this out.
James, let me ask you, because you said you like the over at 4.5. One thing that would come to my mind if I was looking at betting the over is that could we see a different Kamaru Usman, because he did change camps. He's going from, training with Henry Hooft to Trevor Whitman. And I will say that Henry Hooft is kind of known for aggression, right? Which is kind of funny, because Kamaru trained under him for a while and was not really a finisher. So I guess it really wouldn't be too big of a concern, but do you have, I guess, any concern, betting an over when you're talking about a guy who's, now been in his second camp with a completely different coach?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I just don't think what's he been there 6 months? I don't think it changes. I don't think it changes that much. When I look at Gilbert Burns, I look at a guy that's extremely durable, especially at 170. He's fought some decent punchers there. I don't think he's been rocked or wobbled or anything like that. Very durable, very good on the ground, tough to submit, wrestles very well, good cardio, good chin. He's just got all the things that say, hey, I'm going to be here for 15 or 25 minutes. And then he's also fighting a guy that is favored to win, that is notorious for grinding out, decisions. So if you say, hey, Usman's winning, that's what the lines are suggesting, which I'll go back to what Nick said at minus 190. This is a completely different conversation. Yeah. But if you're saying, hey, Usman's going to win this fight, red flag in my head is if Usman wins, it's probably going to be by decision. That doesn't mean he can't finish him. That's just more times than not that's probably going to win by decision. And if you're going to beat Burns, that's probably going to be the way to do it, even though historically he hasn't lost like that. Usman's just not a finisher. He's a grinder. That's, we're talking about a styles matchup similar to what we talked about with Volkov and Overeem last week, the grappling. It's the same thing. It's a styles clash.
And James, one more for me. What about when you get two guys who have been in the on the mats, I mean, for as long as they have, like Burns, said that he and Kamaru have done 200 rounds together.
Yeah.
I would almost think that would lean more towards the over as well, right? Because you got two guys who are super familiar with one another. It's almost, and not that it becomes like a glorified sparring, but they know each other's strengths so well. They're trying to exploit each other's weaknesses. Like, do you feel like when you have familiarity that it tends to lean towards the over?
Absolutely, because you know what their danger factors are, right? You don't have to go down the path of the undiscovered path, right? You know where the path of least resistance is, and they're both going to try to take that path. They know each other. And I'm going to steal kind of what DC said. I've been saying this, but it's so true. When you've trained together that much, somebody knows, like, we all can speculate over it, but they know who is getting the better in that room. So if Usman's getting the better of the striking, my guess is Burns is going to put him on the fence, and what I like about this matchup, especially talking about the over, is if Usman comes out to strike and tries to, you mentioned him changing camps. If he tries to come out and strike, I think Burns is going to put him on the fence. They're both very good at that. They're known to, if you watch him, watch Burns fight Woodley, that's exactly what he did. So to me, I just lean the over all day on this. I really feel strongly about the over, and I'll pay a little bit for it.
Yeah, the over for the fight to go the distance is minus 137. So not too crazy of a line there, but if you're betting no, it will be finished inside the distance, you're getting even money on that. Nick, you didn't really talk about the over under there. Do you got a lean either way?
I'm not touching it personally. I get what James is saying. I think that's probably the good angle, and they know each other. They're familiar. Everything that you guys just said is true. I just think that there is a finishing ability in, obviously, Burns, because, man, he's got that power. And if he's going to win this fight, that might be the way he wins it, right? By catching Usman on the feet and then maybe hopping on a sub. Or if the fight does hit the ground, if anybody's capable of submitting a guy like Usman, it might be Gilbert Burns, because that jiu-jitsu game is just phenomenal. But more than likely, you're right, it probably stays upright. They strike back and forth up against the cage, a lot of clinching. The pace of the fight will probably slow down. They will show that respect factor. There's not a lot of hatred there, despite them being competitive now and fighting for the gold. There's going to be something there and motivation there for sure, but you're not out there hating the opponent. So I don't think they're going to go out there, honestly, try to kill each other. Not that they're not going to try to finish each other, but you know what I mean? I think they will be at a more respectful pace, if that makes sense. So I could definitely see the over. I'm just going to probably stay away. 5 rounds with this caliber of fighting is a long way to go for me. So I think maybe a little bit low. There could be a little value there, but I'm just going to probably stay away from it.
Yep. Good stuff, guys. Co-main event, Maycee Barber returns from a 13-month layoff. The longest I think she's had prior to this in her very short career. She's only 22 years old, has been a 7-month layoff. She's coming back from a torn ACL. Her first loss, she lost to Roxanne Modafferi early in 2020. She is facing Alexa Grasso, who's 27, been in the UFC now for a while, 7 fights in the UFC. She's actually alternated every single time. Win-loss, win-loss, win-loss in her 7 fights in the UFC. For Maycee Barber, she is the underdog. She is plus 115. Grosso comes back at minus 135. There has been movement on the underdog here because Grasso opened at 175. She's now down to minus 135. Nick, we'll start with you on this one. Flyweight fight, co-main event. What do you think about Barber versus Grasso?
Man, this is going to be a phenomenal fight. I mean, It's going to be fireworks from the beginning. Both ladies are going to bring it. They both like to stand and bang. So we're going to see these ladies throw down in the middle of the octagon, and it's going to be fun. But the difference maker, and I think why you're seeing people come in on Barber, she's the more well-rounded fighter. I know Grasso is definitely picking up her game. Her ground game is getting better. Her takedown defense is improving. She's going to need it here because I think Barber will look to take this fight to the floor eventually, but she doesn't have to. I mean, she sits in the pocket and she swings leather. So that's the thing. I think what you're going to see is Grasso trying to pick her apart, be a little bit faster, be a little bit more technical, but make no mistake, Barber's going to be in there swinging punches. They're both going to hit each other. I think she's got more of a knockout chance. I think she has more of a submission chance. So she's the more well-rounded fighter. I'm a little bit cautious with the layoff, like you said, in the injury. We have to see how she recovers from that and how she performs. So that's the only caution here. If not, I could make a case for Barber being a favorite in this fight, honestly. So I can see the improvements in Grasso. I just think this is a tough stylistic matchup for her.
Yeah, James, interesting breakdown there by Nick. And I agree. I mean, I think a lot of people would. They look at this matchup and they see Grasso as maybe a little bit more of a technical striker, but Barber can just be like bowling a China shop in there, especially at that weight class. From a stylistic standpoint, especially when you're talking about a situation where, Grasso doesn't have a whole lot of knockout power. So do you prefer kind of the less technical, but kind of the more physical style here by Barber, or are you more bought in on Alexa's style?
Well, we've done the show a couple of weeks, and I feel like we do nothing but agree. And I would love to disagree with Nick right now, but I don't. To me, there's a couple of things that I don't like, that I like and don't like about each one. I do agree with Nick 100% that the finishing ability and the danger factor is definitely leans on Barber. She has the ability to finish by submission. She has the ability to finish by knockout. My only complaint with Maycee is she starts a little slow sometimes, so I could see her giving up the first round, and Alexa does not start slow at all. She is the same pace all 3 rounds. So I could see Maycee giving up the first round, and with a volume puncher, that's never a good idea, is to start, from behind. So, but I do agree with Nick 100%. To me, this is a coin flip fight, and I would have to lean towards the underdog in either one of these. And if I had to pick, I would even, if I didn't know the line right now, I would suggest that Maycee would be a favorite. Not by much, but I agree with Nick. Everything he just said, I 100% agree. So from a value standpoint, I would have to lean towards Maycee Barber.
Guys, if you're betting the distance on this fight, the fight to go to the distance, yes, is -225. If you bet that there will be a finish in this fight, the no is +163. Now, you got Maycee, who I said, 22 years old. She's ready to go. She's been held back, for 13 months. This is the longest layoff of her career. We know that she's a confident individual. We know that she's kind of a piston when she gets in there. She's looking for finishes, and I think she's going to be even more ramped up for this one because of that layoff. Does it interest you at all? A finish, because you might have, and Alexa fights at a high pace as well. So not a whole lot of finishes on Alexa's record, but this could be a high paced fight. Any of you guys have an interest in the under, or do you think this one does go over?
Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, I would think I would lean under. You got to take the plus money in that case of what you said. And it's kind of against the narrative. A lot of people believe that women's fight typically hit the scorecards. They do hit the scorecards. We see a lot of wars, a lot of competitive fights, a lot of durability, a lot of toughness. So they do tend to hit the scorecards. But in this case, like you just said, she's got to come out swinging. They both get hit a lot, right? And again, on the ground, I can see the finish. So if anything, you got to go for the plus money. You cannot lay the chalk on the over. So it's a dog or pass situation, I think, on the total.
I 100% agree with him. You go the under or nothing. That being said, I don't think it's going to go the under. Both these girls are extremely durable. I mean, if you watch Maycee Barber, she tore her ACL 0 seconds into her fight with Roxanne, still, pushed through. Then you look at Alexa Grosso. She's shown that she can take a big shot. She can work her way out of submissions and any type of grappling. Not that she's a super accomplished grappler. You're not going to see a lot of offensive grappling from her, but she is good enough to stay out of things on the ground. I see this going the over. I'm not going to pay for it, but the value is definitely on the under, but I do see it going over. If you guys, if you want to bet, the under is where you need to be.
Sure. All right. Let's get to this, the part of the show that everybody wants to know. How are we making money this weekend, guys? Nick, you take us there first.
All right, a couple bets. I mean, Gastelum, he's around -215. I know Heinisch is a very tough opponent. He's a durable opponent. He's powerful. He's aggressive. It's going to be a back-and-forth type of fight, but Gastelum is the more technical fighter. I think he's a better wrestler in this spot. I think he's a better striker in this spot. He needs to win. I mean, you're talking about a title contender that's on a losing skid here against high-level competition, so you can't really knock him. But this is almost a must-win for him, and I think he's the better fighter. So -215, you can't go nuts because I am expecting this to be competitive, but I do think it's Gastelum. So a small bet on Gastelum. And then we were just talking about Barber. I like Barber here, probably one of my favorite plays on this card. Again, no disrespect to Grasso, but I think you got to take the plus money, where if you have a fighter that should be favored in your opinion, and you have it kind of turning out that way, then the value's obviously there and you got to go with it. So at +110, even money, any plus money at all or even money, I think you have to take a stab at Barber. So that's where my money is going. A little bit of a bigger bet on Barber and a smaller bet probably in Gastelum is the way I'm going here.
Yeah, Barber definitely sounds like a play. If James was also saying that, without looking at the line, he would have made Barber the favorite. So I think this show likes Maycee Barber this weekend. Who else we like, James? What are your best bets?
Man, Ricky Simone has made me a lot of money over the course of the last year or two. He just continually goes out and shows his improvement every time out. I think he's going to stay away from the power of Kelleher. I think he's going to stay away from the guillotine of Kelleher. I think he's a superior wrestler, superior grappler, and a better striker. Kelleher's danger factor is top notch, but just a veteran like Ricky that's been around the block a couple of times. He's fought some really high level guys. I think he's going to stay away from that. I think he's going to stuff the power. I think he's going to know whenever he's in the clinch, just watch for the guillotine. The danger factors that Kelleher brings to the table, I think he's going to pull out a decision in this one. They might have a couple moments of little scared moments here and there, but I like Ricky a lot. I've liked him. He's made me a lot of money in the last year or two. I'm going to stay riding with him. Once again, no disrespect to Kelleher. I think I like Ricky in this one a lot. And then my second one is I like you said -137 to go the distance for Burns Usman. Is that right? I love that. I really do. I think the value is definitely there. I know there's a danger factor on the Burns side, but if Vegas is telling me that Usman's going to win, he's probably going to win by decision. I do think this fight is going to be much more competitive than what people think it's going to be, and I do think there's going to be some back and forth moments. But I think this fight's going to go the other. Going to go the over. I think both these guys are extremely durable and very, very well-rounded. Their game is very, very similar. I just see this going the over unless somebody catches a Hail Mary. And if that's the case, it would probably go on Burns' side.
Yeah, I like the way you put it there, James, that Vegas is telling you that Usman's going to win this fight. This guy does not finish, man. And that's he's having a high pace and he's dominating these fights, but he's really not finishing them. And he's winning rounds, and he's almost that clock just ticks with Usman because of the way in which he fights. And I was looking at a stat this morning that Usman has only lost one round unanimously in his UFC career. There's only been one round in his entire time in the UFC in which all three judges gave his opponent the round. So this guy just kills clock, man. He kills clock. He wins rounds. He banks those rounds. So if he's a -280 favorite and we're confident that he's going to win the fight, most likely it would be by decision. So maybe you're getting a good price there at -137 if you like Usman.
I would have thought that line would have been closer to -200. Really, I really thought. I still think it's extremely undervalued.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.